it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are again going to do some quick and simple card making. I am using this set here from Spellbinders and I'm actually going to be making a few versions of this card in today's video. So that's why it is a little bit longer. I have some 4x4 inch card bases that I'm going to start with. These are the 110 pound Nina Solar White. And then just from my stash, I have this kind of metallic-y, shimmery blue cardstock as well. And I'm going to cut that down to just a fraction smaller. So I think about 3 7/8 or 3 3/4 or so, square obviously. And I will cut out a few of these panels because, as I said, I'll do a few cards today. So you can see it leaves a really nice little white border around my card there. I'm going to be using some Hero Arts white pigment ink. This is the unicorn ink, and I am going to use my stamping platform mainly because I'll be making several of these cards. As I said, you can definitely use an acrylic block, and I'm pressing kind of lightly because this stamp set is really detailed. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just going to pop the next one in. You can see on the grid sheet there I've actually got some pencil markings so I can see where to put my little piece of blue paper. I will re-ink this up again, and I'm just doing it really lightly for a couple of reasons. One being that my ink pad is really juicy, and two being just how fine detailed this stamp is. Now my little magnet got in the way there, so I just had to shift it and then re-stamp it, and I've got a couple ready to go. So with pigment ink, you do need to make sure that you dry it or give it time to dry. I like to heat set it, and that way it means I won't be smudging it all over the place when I'm working with it. So giving it a really good heat set is a good idea. Now, as I have said in lots of my videos, I try and make cards where you can just adapt the sentiment to whatever you need, and that is the case today. This would be a gorgeous card for lots of different occasions. However, I need a couple of sympathy cards. So once I have got these really nice and dry, and it's probably taking a little bit longer as well because I did this on a metallic-y cardstock, so make sure that they're nice and dry, and here you can see that beautiful detail that is in this stamp. So as I said, today I'm going to be working with the Paper Smooches with Sympathy die set. This is a really nice font, and it's got that extra little leaf in there that I won't be using today. But these are really easy, quick cards. So I'm going to pop the little with sympathy down in the bottom right hand corner. I am going to use a little bit of post-it note tape just to tack this down, because I really don't want these to shift as I run them through my die cutting machine. Now I've run the first one through, and I'm just going to leave it in there for a minute. I'm going to do the second one, but when I take these out, once I've run this through my die cutting machine and I take it out, you need to be careful not to lose the little centers of some of the words, so the P and the A, because I will end up putting those back in. Now, there are so many options where I could go with this card. I was kind of struggling with which one I wanted to go with, but I am going to pop these out, and the SY of the sympathy is one part, and then the rest of the word is separate. So I'll pop those to the side. And as I said, I wanted to show you a few different ways that you could do this card today. So the first way that I am going to do this is I'm going to pop it up with a little bit of foam tape, and I'm not putting anything behind it. I just want it to stand up off the card front a little bit and create a small shadow when I am looking through that sentiment. Now you could also just lie this completely flat on your card front, and then you could die cut out the with sympathy with a different color and pop it back in. That would work too. I have popped a tiny little bit of liquid glue there. This is the multi-medium in the matte finish from Reinkers, and I'm just using a little wax pencil there to lift up those middle parts that go back inside the P and the A. To finish it off, I'm using some of the pale gold little Nuvo drops, and I'm just doing teeny tiny little drops, a few scattered here and there. Now this is kind of the most basic of all of the cards, so it didn't take long to make it all, and you could almost batch make these really easily. So this is the first card, and you can see all of that gorgeous detail in that stamp set. I really love this stamp. But now we are going to move on to the second one there that I did, and I'm going to pop it out exactly the same. But before I use the pale gold Nuvo drops to do just the Nuvo drops around my little decoration. However, with this one, just to make it coordinate a little bit more, I'm going to take a little scrap of paper here, and I'm just measuring it out to be a similar size with what I need to go behind my sentiment. And all you need to do this, you can either use like a palette knife, but I really like using an old gift card or an old credit card or something like that. So I am just going to squeeze a little bit of the Nuvo drops at the top of that little rectangle, and then use the gift card to swipe it down nice and evenly. And I do really like an even finish here, but you can definitely do whatever finish you like. And you can do this with all of the Nuvo drops, the stone drops or the transparent ones. You can do them with lots of them. So this is a fun technique just to help all of the colors on your card coordinate a little bit better. I am going to use my heat gun to dry this. And this worked perfectly well. It didn't create any bubbles or anything like that when I was heating it. So I would definitely do this again. It was fine. I'm making sure it's just dry to the touch, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I will pop some foam tape up behind it. You could just use some fun foam, or you could stack cardstock behind it, whatever you have in your stash. Now, here's the real story with this card. I actually filmed this one and then kind of had a different idea of where I wanted to go with the card. So I ended up filming a completely different video for this, along the same lines, but a different style. And I just completely wasn't sure which one I wanted to put up on my channel. And I felt like I should either do one or the other because they were so similar to each other. But yet they were kind of really different, and so yeah, I was having heaps of trouble deciding which one I wanted to put up. So in all honesty, if you have had enough of this video and you don't want to see a kind of different version where we make our own backgrounds with ink blending and things, then I completely understand, and thank you so much for making it this far in the video. But I have actually finished this video, and then on the end I am going to go and roll the second video as well. So it's up to you if you are done watching here, or stick with me and I will show you how to make this one a little bit more from scratch. And now that I see it as I am editing and doing the voiceover for this video, perhaps I like the second version a little bit better, but I do still like these first cards that I made as well. So you can see I added the gold Nuvo drops to this one, and here are the first two cards all finished. I'll see you back in just a minute. Okay, if you are here, thank you so much for joining me again for kind of a part 2 of this video. I am still sticking with the 4x4 inch card base, and then I have the 3 3/4 inch card front that will layer up on top of it. I'm going to use some broken china and chipped sapphire inks to ink blend on the front of this. If you wanted to go a little bit lighter in the middle as well, you could definitely use something like tumbled glass or the speckled egg distress oxides colour. However, because I knew again that I thought I would be stamping on top of this, I wanted the colours to be kind of nice and dark. Now, I started off ink blending with the chipped sapphire and realised my ink pad was a little bit dry. I hardly ever re-ink my oxides, but you can see the big difference that it makes there when I am ink blending. I would go so far as to say that the chipped sapphire is maybe my favourite distress oxide colour. I definitely use it a lot. And then when I am ink blending this, you can see that I'm almost going over top of all of that broken china because I just want there to be a really subtle difference with the colour in the middle. So I have a nice dark edge there with the chipped sapphire, and then just a little bit of the lighter blue peeking through. Then just to really darken up the edges, I'm using a little bit of black soot and just a little finger dauber because I don't want this to be super dark around the edges. I don't really want black to be a prominent colour. I just want to darken up the edges just a little bit. So I am kind of going over with the black soot and then going back over with my ink blending tool, which has the chipped sapphire on it. So just a little bit. And you can see there that is the final background part. Now I'm going to use the same unicorn pigment ink, but because my ink pad is so juicy, one way to avoid kind of splotches and heavier ink spots on your stamp is to use an ink blending tool to apply the white ink to your stamp. And this definitely makes a much more even result when I am stamping. It may mean that you need to stamp it a couple of times because it's not such heavy ink, but I definitely didn't get the heavier spots of ink that I had last time. So you can see the beautiful detail in this stamp here. And again, as I said, it is really similar to the last one, but kind of a little bit different too. Now I am just going to put a little bit of both colours of those ink that I used in the background, and I'm putting them on a little scrap piece of paper because I'm going to die cut out the With Sympathy, the same one that I had from Paper Smooches, and I'm going to make sure it's really dry because often if you run wet ink through your die cutting machine, you won't get quite as crisp edges on your die cutting that you would if it were perfectly dry. So I also cut one out in plain white, and I'm just going to layer that directly behind the dark blue one, the Chip Sapphire. And then I'm going to add the Broken China one, so that's the light blue, and this is going to be my shadow. The sentiment was quite bold on the last couple of cards that I made, so with this one I just want it to blend in a little bit more and be a little bit quieter on the card. So you can see there that the light blue one is going behind the dark blue and then ever so slightly to the right as well. And this is a really good technique to use if you just need your sentiment to stand off the page a little bit more than what it is. Creating a shadow, whether it be out of black cardstock or white cardstock, is often a really good way to go. So now it's just a matter of putting my card together. I am putting this one flat onto my card base. So I'm just using some liquid glue, and again it's the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish, which is a really nice strong glue, and it does not leave any shine or anything if it squeezes out the sides a little bit. I am putting my sentiment in the same place that I popped it on the first card. And then just to finish it off, I am going to add some Nuvo drops, just tiny little ones. You could use anything here, a couple of little gems or a couple of little sequins or something else that you have in your stash. I'm going to be using the Morning Dew Nuvo drops. These are the ones that dry completely clear, they dry transparent, and these are a really good one to have in your stash. I get asked quite a bit what I would recommend for you guys to have if you could just have a few Nuvo drop colours. I would say get the black, the white, the gold, the silver and the clear, and that pretty much will get you through any card making that you need. They are the ones that I definitely use most frequently. Now I'm just going to pop a few of the clear ones on here, and because these are on top of Oxides, these will pick up the blue colour that is behind them. So that is the last card finished for today. 3 pretty clean and simple cards. Let me know in the comment section down below which one of these 3 cards that you liked the best if you made it this far, because I was having so much trouble deciding. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you've made it this far, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!